Hey punks, welcome back to the University of Radlands. We have another how to play lesson here for you. And today we're going to finish out the player reference card by going over how to play card traits. So we've already done turn sequence, we've already discussed ready, and now we're going to discuss the little green brackets that you find at the bottom of some of the cards. So uh, again, your player reference card has kind of all the information that you need that's in the rule book. So we'll just read this really quick. Effects surrounded by green brackets are always in effect, except for those on damaged persons. So very similar to when you're trying to use abilities on persons or people compared to camps. If a camp is ready or damaged, you can use the ability. So the same goes for card traits. If a person is ready, you can use abilities and traits. If they're damaged, then you cannot use card traits or abilities on people. So keep that in mind. We're going to kind of go over that for card traits today. The first thing we'll go over is camps. There's a few camps that seem to have card traits, and for the most part, they will be active all the time except one. So Obelisk has a trait, the green brackets here at the bottom. This happens at the start of the game. It's destroyed. Well, and since it's a destroyed camp, its effect or ability isn't really there anymore. The other camps that also have traits that are active all the time would be Bonfire. This card cannot be restored, so you can't junk or use card abilities to, after you damage this card or the opponent damages this card, you aren't able to then restore it back to undamaged. So once it's damaged, it's always damaged. That trait is always in effect. And then Oasis is the last camp that has a trait here. If you have no people in this column, your people cost one less to play in this column. So this is a trait that is always on, whether it is undamaged or damaged. The only time it's not on is if you have a person in the column. Well, then the next person that you play in that column is a normal cost. So we just keep that in mind with Oasis. Now, traits on people, just spoiler, there's no events that have any traits on them, as they kind of go over on the event track and then resolve and then immediately go to the discard. For people, it seems that traits are kind of in two sets. So one set of traits are when played or happen immediately, and the other set is they are active all the time. So we'll kind of go over that. So we have some events or traits that happen as soon as the card is played. So for example, in Holdout, its trait is if you play this in front of a damaged camp, he costs 0 water instead of 2. Well, once he's in play, that trait doesn't matter anymore. Same for Vanguard, Doomsayer, Wounded Soldier, Repair Bot, and Rescue Team. This card enters play is ready. Well, as soon as the card's in play, it's ready to use, and that trait doesn't matter anymore. When this card enters play, restore, draw a card, damage this card, move an event back one space on your opponent's side, and then gain a punk when it enters play. So those are abilities that, even though the card is undamaged on the field, you aren't able to use those abilities again unless you play a second copy from hand, or you go, they get destroyed, and then you go through the draw deck and draw them again. So even if these cards are all damaged, you wouldn't be able to use their traits anyway because they've already entered play. So that's one set of traits that happen immediately and then aren't really needed anymore after that. And there are some people that come with traits similar to these camps that are always on, always active, as long as they're undamaged. And these are actually on some of the unique characters that we've discussed in other videos. So like we've mentioned before, as long as they're undamaged and upright, these traits are always active. So for example, the first event you play is a 0 timed event instead of having the event cost to it. All people gain this person's abilities. So if you have Argo Yeski out, everybody can deal a damage. Now he's actually got 2 traits. He has a when entering play trait and an all the time always active trait. So that's kind of interesting. And keep in mind, unlike with the camps being damaged, their traits are always active. If all these people are damaged, their traits are turned off, and their abilities aren't going to affect the game state anymore. Now, the main difference between normally, if you were to restore a character, their ability is not ready because you restored the character. But if you restore a character from being damaged that has a trait, well, the trait is ready and the trait's ready to go. So if we restore Argo Yeski, we can't pay 1 water for damage, but all the other people that are ready gain his ability. So that does turn back on, which is pretty nice. Well, that's traits in a nutshell. If you have any other questions, please comment down below and ask them, and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. And as always, stay thirsty, punks.